Good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar about Microsoft Teams solutions for healthcare. My name is Koen Nijkrake. I'm a Customer Success Manager at Microsoft the Netherlands. And next to me is Maarten Visser from Rapid Circle. Maarten, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit what Rapid Circle is doing and what this business is.
Yeah. Hi, good day. My name is Maarten Visser. I'm a business consultant at Rapid Circle. Rapid Circle is an ISV, a system integrator. We help organizations move to the cloud, do data center migrations, Power Platform solutions, and do Teams apps like we will be discussing today.
Very good. Thank you. And behind the scene, we also have Hanneke Pastoor and Jeroen Belen. They are the moderators during this session. So if you have a question or a comment, please use the Ask a Question button. I think it's on the right side of your screen. Please type in your questions. The moderators can choose to make it public if it's a relevant question for the larger group, or if it's a private question, they will keep it private and will comment to you directly. You can comment or ask your questions anonymously, but if you want us to give you feedback or follow up on it, then we need to know your name. So please then fill in your name so we can follow up for later. All right, let's get started. Before we start, a little bit of the background. Why was Teams introduced? And that's mainly because our workplace is changing. And we become much more mobile, we have much more devices, we become much more social. And so on average, we use about 4 times more devices during a workday than, for instance, 10 years ago. We have our PC, tablet, phone. If you're, for instance, in a hospital, they use nowadays. We also use a lot of social solutions, so for instance, Facebook, Instagram, but also Yammer, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, to communicate and share information with our colleagues or with the people outside of our companies to inform them what's going on. Another interesting trend is that we are working in a very diverse and remote workplace. For instance, at this moment, we work together with 5 generations in most organizations, and that means that people who have been there for a long time. They probably started working when there weren't any PCs or just a few PCs in the whole organization. And we also have people who just graduated their university or their school, who are doing everything on their mobile. And all these different generations, they have to collaborate in a correct way, and everybody has their own preferences, what they like, how they like to collaborate. So you have to bear in mind that that is being facilitated in the right way. Another thing is also that maybe it was already going on, that we start working much more remotely than before, and especially now during the COVID pandemic. It really has given a boost of people working from home, other places, that there is a lot of collaboration remotely. And when we ask to people the question, 96% of the people, sorry, 69% of the people believe that, one moment. So 69% of the people expect that they continue to work in a hybrid way. That means a couple of days at the office or at the organization, in the hospital, or in the healthcare institution, and other days or other moments from home, for instance. Then there's also the part that we work much more together in teams, and we collaborate much more intensively. If we compare it to 5-6 years ago, nowadays we work in twice as many teams as before. And from a knowledge worker, 80% of its time is being spent on collaborating. Often it is with one or more people, but it can also that you are collaborating in a way that you are preparing, for instance, for a presentation. Maarten and I, we have been preparing this presentation. Today is the first time we see each other in person, and before that everything happened online. And we also worked on the presentation in different time slots. For instance, I was spending time on it in the morning, and Maarten in the afternoon or in the evening. So it's really easy to collaborate on the same things in different moments and on from different locations. Another thing next to collaboration is information management, because every day there is an overflow of information, an overload of information that we need to process. For instance, 20% of now every knowledge worker, 20% of his day is busy with tracking the right information. Where was it? Who sent it? During what application? During what media? So that's costing a lot of time. Also, a lot of time is being spent on managing the email. I think we all know that our inboxes are exploding. There's so much email. How can we manage this in a better way? And also managers, 59% of the managers, they report back that they are missing important information due to the overload of information. So collaboration and information management are key topics in this new workplace. And those trends and those insights has led that Microsoft wants to offer a solution, and that's Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is a hub for teamwork, one place where you can do all the collaboration, all the work that is most important for you. And that starts with communications. It's very easy to set up a chat, to ask somebody a question or inform somebody. That can be one-on-one, but also in group chats. With Teams and the channels, it's really good for your for your teamwork, your collaboration. You can inform your team. You can co-create in the same in the same area. And what's also I think is very good is that you can work there in an asynchronous way, because especially in healthcare, it's a 24/7 environment. And some people work in the morning, others in the afternoon, some people at midnight. And using a platform as Teams means that everybody can contribute in its own way, in its own time. And that you will see that it's also helping you to get information and get support from people you didn't work with before. Now, another thing is online meetings, because we have to work remotely. You need to have a good way to set up your meetings. It's really easy to share your screen, to share your content, and to invite people, set up your meetings. Of course, you can do the calling, group calling, one-to-one, but also the video calling. And it's really, I think it's giving a different way if you communicate with somebody who you can see than when it's only the voice you hear. It's really good to see the impressions. Another thing is that we try to build in as much applications as possible, and the benefit of that is that you can continue to do your work in one flow. For instance, if you need to look up something in an Excel sheet, you can just open the Excel sheet, find the information you're looking for, maybe change something. You can all do this within Teams. And if you really have to do a lot of work or prepare a presentation, then you can open the native app and do your work in that area. And that's also related to the last point, and that's the integration of apps and info. That's also the topic of this webinar. We want to integrate as much of the relevant, important information processes that we can think of that is important for an employee to do his or her work, and have it all together in one environment. So if you go to the store, for instance, the bottom in the left corner, you can go to the store, and there you will find many apps that you can integrate in your teams. For instance, if it's about project management or finance tools, or if you want to start a poll, all kinds of apps you can find there, which you can use in your teams. So Teams is all about this new workplace. Imagine you have a workplace where you can integrate business processes and homegrown applications, automate routine tasks, bring together all apps and info, and communicate and collaborate. And this all in a single hub. And that's what we want to talk about today, how you can do even more within Teams by integrating processes, data, workflows, all the things that matter to you to do your work, your job in the best possible way. And within Microsoft and within IT, we then talk about Teams as a platform. And Teams as a platform consists of 4 key teams. That's Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, and third-party applications. And I think this is a key part of our topic today. So I will go a little bit further into this slide, and let's start with Power Apps. And Power Apps is about low-code app development, where you can easily build apps, forms, and workflows with a full-featured low-code platform. And I think this low-code is also very, very important, because you don't have to be very skilled in all kinds of IT development. It's really easy to start your first Power Apps. Easy to deploy, easy to manage, you can connect it to external data sources. So really bring in the information which is important for you. And because it's being part of Office 365, then you also have part of the Microsoft 365 security, which also is relevant because, talking about healthcare, we have a lot of private information that has to be secured very well. Then there's the Power Automate, workflow automation, where you can seamlessly scale and automate processes using intelligent automation. Also, there are many pre-configured templates, so just pick the one which suits you best, and a lot of the pre-work is already done. Again, you can connect to your external data sources. Power Virtual Agents, these are the chatbots where you can create and manage virtual agents, bots without having to write code. I think I prepared my own virtual bots as part of a training, and I could do it. So if I can do it, many of you can also prepare it. There's also intelligence in there that it's self-learning, and again here you can also connect it with the external resources. And then the last part is the third-party applications. There are many ISVs. In a few minutes, Martin will tell more about their solutions, where they really built applications for specific solutions, or some are very generic that can suit a lot of organizations. And some of these apps you can purchase through the App Store, and others you have to deploy yourself. And I think with that, I want to give two examples before I hand over to Martin. I think the first example, which is pretty easy to try out, is to connect your corporate intranet to Teams. This, the screen you see here is an example of the Microsoft intranet, and the benefit of it is that you can that people will visit much more often the intranet than when they really have to go to it through their browser. This way, people get more informed, know what's happening, and get more engaged with the company. Pretty easy to implement. And the other one, this is the Timon bot. This is an FAQ bot with all kinds of questions related to Teams. This one is now available in English, Swedish, and the Dutch one will be released pretty soon. But also other languages are being worked on by local Microsoft branches. And this is, like I said, a bot with questions about Teams. There are already more than 100 common user questions in there. As an organization, you can turn on the questions which are relevant for you. For instance, if you don't have the opportunity or the possibility to share documents, then you just turn off these questions. And by implementing such a bot, which you can pin on the left side of your Teams menu, you will reduce the number of support questions being asked to the help desk. And here you see below how you can turn on questions, turn off questions, and it's also possible to add organization-specific questions for your organization. For instance, if there are things which you say, okay, this is really relevant for our organization, you can add your own questions. So it's really flexible tool to use and to help your organization to get more out of Teams. If you want to use it, you can go to aka.ms/Timon, or you can scan the QR code, and we'll keep you posted about when new Timon bots are being launched. So one of the two you can use to keep updated. And then with that, I would like to hand over to Martin. Martin, are there any questions in between we should pay some?
I haven't seen any, so I don't think so.
Okay, then here's the clicker. And for the audience, if you have a questions, please use the chat, and we will reply on it during the webinar. Thank you.
All right, so then I'm going to continue on one of the key storylines that I want to share, which is one of the superpowers that Microsoft Teams provides is the ability to use business applications in context of your business processes. So, and that's a very fundamental aspect of what Microsoft Teams can provide, other than common ways in providing applications to end users, where they would normally be pushed to mobile phones or desktops or being provided as tiles on an internet. One of the very strong points of Microsoft Teams is that it allows to have people collaborating within a certain organizational process. Of course, when you start using Teams, you will be creating teams, supporting certain departments, and maybe some for projects. But the key thing that Teams can provide is also the collaboration across departments where people work together, providing a certain service to customers or providing a supporting process within the organization. And the key thing here is that not only does Teams bring you the context for collaboration using chat, it also provides you the environment to share documents and collaborate on documents. And then thirdly, it provides you with the ability to have these business applications at your fingertips in the context where you collaborate with your colleagues or partners or even customers. So this is a very important aspect that is relatively new in, for example, in healthcare. If you have people working together at a certain care location, you could have a day shift, you could have a night shift, where Teams provides that service of collaborating regarding everything which takes place on that particular location. And then you have the ability to chat with the people working at that location. You have the ability to share documents, but now also have the ability to have applications which supply information regarding that core process of delivering healthcare at that location. So there's many examples that you can think of. A couple of those I will demonstrate or show you during this session. But the key thing to remind or to remember here is that the fact that we're working together in the context of this team for that location, I can provide information as reporting, dashboards, applications to submit an incident, and many more. And so I can't stress it enough. Context is a very powerful aspect that Teams provides to applications. So let's get started with 3 simple examples of this kind of applications. As Koen already mentioned, secure collaboration of just embedding a certain Excel sheet or a Word document within the context of the team, basically pinning it to a tab in a channel, provides you with the one go-to place to collaborate on certain information. And it could start with such a simple thing as having an Excel sheet, having certain things that need to be taken care of for that care location or for that business processes, and having the ability of all people just having that one-click action of going from the team to that certain Excel sheet, which is also always embedded in that certain tab. So that's a very easy step. Another one would be the ability to use bots, so a chatbot. So what I'm seeing is that when I was talking about chatbots a couple of years ago, people really thought like this is still too far away in the future, that's not something that we will be using in healthcare. But what I've been seeing for the past year, especially last month, is that that more and more people are becoming aware of the potential value that these chatbots can provide, and especially the ease in which those chatbots can be embedded within the context of Teams chat, and that way have a quick way of asking questions. And these bots can also be pinned to the left rail of Teams. So always having those as a one-click within your desktop browser, web browser, and mobile clients. And then the third one here is also something that we've been able to do for a long time, but still is the low-hanging fruit. And that is having these dashboards providing certain information about the business process that you and your colleagues are delivering, and having a BI dashboard, basically, a Power BI dashboard as a tab within a certain channel, within a certain team, where you could see certain important stuff like managing process, of seeing what's going on, monitoring certain thresholds on the way that services are being delivered. It could be like an overview of potential patients or clients in a queue waiting to get onboarded into a care location, or waiting for a certain medical activity that needs to take place. But having that at your fingertips in the context where you collaborate, share documents, and having these apps, that's a real big value. So communication is of course something we've probably all have been working with in Teams for a long time. And there are certain features that really extend the use cases of communication. One of them is using the urgent messaging. And urgent messages can be created manually. If something takes place, a colleague could urgent message you by mentioning you, or the whole channel when it involves more people. And just having a very clear way of there's something that needs to happen, and everybody who is in scope of this certain urgent message will get this message on their mobile device and desktop, and it will continue to ring until you click and see, yeah, I have saw this message. But those messages can also be created by Power Automate, or could be created by an app that you're building. So the trigger for such an urgent message can also be part of a workflow that when a certain crisis could happen or an emergency takes place, it is also a quick way to notify people that something important is happening, and pulling them basically inside of that channel where this emergency is being discussed. Another way to get people involved and into the loop is the ability of the example of the Communicator app, which is a basic app that can be used to push certain news items to certain target audiences, and letting know that doesn't have to be an emergency. It can also be just common news messages or information you just want to share easily with colleagues. And this Communicator app can be a way to deliver those messages.
Yeah, and the good thing about the Communicator app is that it sends out messages through your chat flow. And so I know of some companies who use the company Communicator app just to send out tips and tricks on a weekly basis to inform people what's possible, for instance, within Teams, but you can also use it for other reasons, of course. And it's a good way to inform your employees with the latest news, or when something important is happening, and then people see it in their chat overview. So it's really low key way to reach a lot of people within your organization.
Yeah, and it stands out. So if you see that in your feed, that you have this nice message, so it can be used for formal communication, but also for sharing knowledge or other things that you want people to read.
Yeah.
And the third example I have on this particular slide is the crisis communication app, which is a Teams app template provided by Microsoft about a year ago, just shortly after the pandemic came out. And this is like a base template that you can use if you want to have a certain app to provide information, in this case regarding crisis communication. It's just something as an example that you can take a look at and see how you could modify that and maybe use that for particular use cases. So I'm going to talk about one key example that we've been helping customers with in the past year. And emergency response was one of those processes that seem to still have a lot of options to improve the way that these emergency responses are being taken care of. And the abilities that the Teams platform can provide to make those processes more user-friendly, but especially also lower the reaction speed of people, which in the case of an emergency can actually really save lives. So emergency response can be as simple as reminding people of certain tasks. One of our customers that still are using pagers to use the emergency response. In Dutch we say BHV process. So when something happens, that a certain group of people get notified about a certain incident, and their help is required, and they have certification for it. They have the certain knowledge of helping people in crisis situations or emergencies. And this particular customer, they were still using pagers, but they had the issue that in some cases there was like multiple pages at the reception desk. And it tended to happen that it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and there were still 2 of the 3 pagers, or 2 of the 5 still laying at the desk, and they weren't picked up. Because the process was mostly just the first people with the BFA certification, they grab those pagers, go to work. But in some cases, people have a free day, or they're working on another location, and then other people forgot about picking up those pagers. So one of those apps that we simply built is actually as soon as it's 9:30, and not enough people have picked up those pagers, which as you pick up the pager, you check in like, I got a pager. And that's basically a simple app that's running in the context of Teams. At some point, if not enough people did that, it sends out a message to all people in the building saying, well, there's still 1 or 2 or 3 pagers lying around, so that people can grab it, and you can make sure you're conformant to the need of having multiple people being able to get the emergency. Of course, there's many other ways that you can improve emergency processes, and one of those is a solution that we built regarding building evacuation. And in this example, actually the Teams app is the app that does the triggering of an emergency. So there's an app, and what could happen is that the fire department is getting at the reception desk saying, well, we have a fire notification, the building needs to be evacuated. And then this app can basically kick off the emergency. I will show how that will work in a moment. And next, people that have the qualification to help evacuating will get a message, again through Teams notifications, but we also build a connector using text messages, so they get text messages, or they can even be called on their phones saying, yes, I'm coming. And then you have a dashboard where you could see which people have replied and to that specific emergency, and then as a emergency manager, you can track if enough people are coming. So on this slide, you see the example where on the most left, you see the mobile app where people can fill in the type of emergency, the location where it's happening, the amount of people needed to support the specific emergency. As soon as the submit button is pushed, the alert is sending out from Teams. Text messages can be sent, people can be called. They will open there's a link in there. They will click it if they get the message in Teams. They see the app and they can say, I'm coming and I'm going to help with this evacuation. And on the most left, you see here an overview that you can track how many people have responded to this particular response, and they can re-initiate the alert if needed. So this is about tracking and quickly responding. And this kind of solutions, again, help people to coordinate in contexts. So as soon as this emergency response is there and people are in different places, letting people out of the building, they can still also use the context of that team being chat to mention things like, oh, I need another person here helping me, or this happened. So again, it's content provided by this app, but it's also collaboration in the same context. And that's a real powerful thing, especially on mobile phones with people who are not sitting at a desktop or just using their app to get work done. So many options here. This is building evacuation, but we see many more use cases for emergency responses. A next example that I want to share is incident registration. And within healthcare processes, there's many incidents that need to be reported according to law and regulations, but also to support the well-being of clients and patients. And incidents can be just certain activities or things happening during a day shift or a night shift that you want to track. And there's still a lot of healthcare software that doesn't have the most greatest user experience or ability to provide interactions from mobile devices and so on. So this is where the Teams app could be this endpoint, this low barrier app that you have in your back pocket, and simply if something happens. You will just the only thing you have to do is to navigate to a certain team, click the right tab within that team, and filling in like the type of incident that took place, maybe choose a category, and then hit send, which then records that incident. Well, with examples that I've seen is that people will get a notification later, like you registered this incident. Do you want to provide additional information? And at that point, all that information can be pushed to a backend system, being a care application or a security kind of solution for tracking incidents or near incidents, which is also important to track.
Yeah. And Martin, the examples you now give, they are pretty heavy. Incidents, building evacuation, emergency. But of course, these kind of examples can also be used, for instance, for when there is something spilled on the floor. You can also make a picture or a mention of it, and that people can solve it, and for much more. For other situations, which are not directly related to emergencies. There are many examples of how you can use it, and sometimes it's good to start with something very important to get tractions, but it can also mean that you start with something simple, easy, just to give it give it a try and gain some knowledge. And then from there on, you start to explore other opportunities. It also depends a little bit on what kind of organization you are working for, where you want to start with. Absolutely.
So the key thing here is, of course, is registration, and registration can be a very simple process. Some of the customers that we started using Teams apps and Power Apps in the past, they started using simple things like just visitor registration at the front desk, or feedback on the quality of the food, for example, during lunch, or other feedback loops that you can provide, and just having this single point of entry to provide these registrations and having those on all devices really makes a difference. And the platform just makes it very easy to build. So it's something that you can very quickly customize or build according to organizational needs. The better examples are, of course, the registration also of things that directly influence employee and patient safety, like seeing a dangerous situation of a cable laying on the floor where people can trip, or a fire extinguisher that fell off the ground or might not look like it's capable of reusing. Those things which are directly related to important compliancy, safety regulations are very, very important to register, to be compliant, and where we can still see that many organizations can easily step to a next level in bringing that to a better and more improved level of maturity. An example that I quickly want to show here is the ability of Power Apps, which also allows barcode reading. And what that brings is that if you would have these objects within a care location or within the hospital, that you could put stickers on certain appliances, but also on water cleaner devices, on many things that need regular checks or can be get broken or need maintenance. You can put those stickers on there and then have these apps that every employee could have in their back pockets. And as soon as something's wrong, they would just have to scan that particular barcode, get an app to, like this example that you just saw, where you can provide in additional metadata or a category or feedback, and then put that into a system, and then have a Power Automate flow, trigger somebody or create a task for somebody to check with that, or do a maintenance reporting on it, or many other things that you can do. Post a message to teams like, this is something that needs to be taken care of. Many use cases on the ease of providing tracking there. Mm-hmm. And one particular example is, for example, the need to Legionella prevention, which is a key example where there are processes that in some cases you need better ways to capture it or manage it, and in some cases there's already an application in the back end, but it just has a poor user interface, or you need to go to another web application with a certain username and password, so that really is a high barrier to use. So a Teams app could really lower the barrier there. All right. Another one that I want to touch on is crisis management. And crisis management is the situation where something could occur, a high priority incident, and you want a group of people to basically collaborate quickly within a situation room. And a Microsoft team that you could ad hoc provision could be this great virtual situation room. Still, some people could be in an actual room looking at a screen in Teams, and some people and starting a meeting, and other people could be remotely part of that situation room. And not only would you use chat and messaging there, the solution that we've built for a customer also automatically creates certain documents that need to be filled, tasks lists that need to be walked through during a certain crisis. And this example has two types. Again, it's an app that could be running in the context of Teams. You kick it off, the team is provisioned, a notification, emergency message is sent to other people involved, and they can start collaborating on the same data with the same apps and collaborating contexts. Another example that I would like to show is the low barrier access to protocols and work instructions. And the key thing here is that these instructions are most commonly being placed within a company intranet, or a particular page where quality is managed, and where you can find those protocols and instructions. But there's so many ways that you want to provide that information using multiple entry points. So there should be more than one point. And a very successful that we have is that you can provide, again, a Power App in which you can see an example here in the context of Teams and your intranet, and maybe this pinned tile that you provide to all care workers that are working as a first-line worker, and then also provide that information with 2 clicks, basically opening the Teams app and clicking the pinned icon, and then be in this location where you can search for a keyword, a search for a certain term, and then you will see the document, you click on it, and it will open a PDF, for example, on your mobile device in the context of Teams, and basically you have 3-click access to any document that might be required. Mm-hmm. So very powerful, especially for the ease of use. And even things that you could do here, if somebody now executes this protocol and wants to provide feedback, this could then also be the place where people say like, hey, isn't this the older version of the manual, or should we not add like an additional step in this process? So it could also be a way to easily provide feedback to the people managing those protocols and instructions.
Martin?
Yes.
We have a question. What if people want to use these apps, for instance, the emergency app or these protocols, the examples you showed? If they want to make use of it, how can they get it?
Well, there's multiple ways. So I showed some Microsoft examples, which can be found in the Teams App Store. And there's also a bunch of downloads that you can do. We as a partner can help, of course, with supporting and looking at those templates provided by Microsoft. And besides that, we as Rapid Circle also build a large gallery of healthcare-specific and industry-specific templates for certain healthcare processes, like the example that I just showed for the protocols, but also the incident tracking. And we provide those templates for free. And we help those as basically like hit the ground running to help our customers build valuable solutions to support their organization.
Okay, good.
So that's two ways in getting those templates, and we're happy to help. A big example of which is really like also the next step is that now in 2021 we really have the ability to leverage the Microsoft platform and to have a secure end-to-end REST encrypted way of providing patient data in the context of Teams. And one of the ways that this is possible is using the FHIR standard. So after many years, there's now really this standard which is adopted all across the world, and big hospitals, software providers are embedding those standards of FHIR into their systems. And also in care, we see more and more providers building extension endpoints to using this protocol. And then thanks to Azure API for FHIR, it allows you to provide certain patient data within the context of Microsoft Teams. And this brings many use cases as quickly looking up certain patient data that gets exposed through this application. This is fully configurable. So again, this is a boilerplate that can be used as an accelerator to build those integrations. And depending on the use case and the certain need to provide information into Teams, specific information, just being a patient number or a certain set of data, like the type of blood or certain medication of other stuff that can be used within a certain use case, can be provided, again, in the context of a Microsoft team.
Okay. And Maarten, because this is medical data, patient data, client data, it has to be really sensitive data. Where is that data being stored? Will you download data from the EHR to Teams, or how does that work?
Yeah, one of the beauties of this particular example is that it's architectured in such a way that no information is stored locally or on a device or in transfer of between the back end and the front end. Okay. So as soon as you move away, there's no caching or whatever on a device. And for that reason, it complies with all the healthcare regulations rules regarding data storage and data encryption.
Perfect.
So it's also encrypted end to end, by the way. So there's no way to eavesdrop on the transfer of information. And it's fully integrated with Azure AD and all the full platform that Microsoft provides. So you can make this that it can only be used on managed devices where everything is encrypted and managed. So that's the whole Microsoft set of security and conditional access policies and so on can be used to make this a highly secure environment to provide that data. Here you see a couple of examples, last sheet about this particular use case. Easy ways to search for patient data, look up, and ways to interact or even put information into the system. Many use cases that can be used to really have access to in a secure fashion to patient customer specific information. Well, and then last but not least, I want to end this whole session is a bit about inspiration, and I hope that these examples that I'm providing helping you to think about the ways that Teams apps can be used to make employees more productive and to make organizations and processes more secure. But one of the key things that we're still seeing a lot in healthcare is that certain small processes are still taking place on paper. And I'm not saying that all paper is bad. There could still be a reason why a paper can be used. I still also like to draw on paper from time to time. But there's still processes within healthcare where everybody is aware that if that would be digitized, everybody would benefit. So there's a lot of patient-related data, incident, or report-related kind of information where it's useful to build an app and no longer having that need to use paper basically. And that's a big benefit that this platform could provide. Another last one is these 3 smiley faces you see here that you might know from using at fast food restaurants or the airport, where you can sometimes see those to very quickly provide feedback. And that's basically the last thing that I want to share, is that feedback loops are very oftenly not capturing all the information you want. So the example of the hygiene of a toilet, which can be improved by pressing one button, is a very common example, and that would be useful for every room within a care location to quickly provide feedback. Like it will be great to have somebody clean this specific room or location. But these feedback loops can also be related to other processes and can also not just be 3 smiley faces, but 6 buttons to very quickly support feedback information into a certain process. So that would basically be the key things that I wanted to share today, Koen. And I still, if we have time, because of course we started a bit later, but according to scheduling, we still have 5 minutes. Happy to address any questions if they are still here.
Very good. Thank you very much, Maarten. Very nice examples. I got a question. It's about who's the owner of the applications. Once they are being implemented or used, are the customers in the lead? Is the ISV in the lead? Mm-hmm. Who is the owner and manager of the applications?
Yeah, that was a good question. If in the ideal situation, you would have the owner of the process that you're automating or supporting to be the primary owner. And so in the ideal situation, that's actually the manager of a department being responsible for successfully delivering that particular process. Also, when you look at the usage of Microsoft Teams, the default best practice is to have the official the person responsible for the data stored in a team to make him responsible as an owner. And of course, ownership can be delegated to somebody else in the organization, and then you have at least 2 business people, 2 organizational roles, non-IT roles, feeling a responsibility to make sure that the right people have access, for example. Then, of course, you have the solutions being backed by your own IT department. So what we do is we help our customers in the journey to help them leverage these Teams apps and Power Platform and making the best use out of it. But that basically starts at the beginning. As a partner, we're doing a lot. So as a system integrator, we provide training to IT departments, and we help them setting up information governance. And over time, our role there could get smaller, but we can still provide a role like a third-party support role as a managed service. There are still many ways that we can help customers.
So customers in the lead, and they determine what they prefer and how they want to work together.
Exactly.
And I think it's a very good start with your partners. Start working on this, because we expect that this is something that will be used much more in the future. So it's good to start in a small way, get some experience, and then yeah, you can benefit from it in the long run. All right, maybe we should go to the next slide, Martin. If people today got really inspired and think I want to do more with it, of course they can go to their current partner, or I think they are also able to contact you, and you can help them.
Absolutely. There's three things that we can do. We do this discovery workshops, and if you just contact one of us, we can plan those. And basically in that workshops, we help discover what's the low-hanging fruit, what would be a best suited application to get started with. We have a Teams app tasting course, which takes a week, where you can try different apps and provide those to end users. And of course, the next step is actually do a pilot and start actively working with a certain location with a certain app and see how it supports a process.
Perfect. So if you want to get in touch, you can leave your contact details in the chat, or connect through LinkedIn. Use the QR codes to get in touch with us, and we will follow up on this. Looking at the time, it's 1 minute before 5, so we are at the end of our session. I would like to thank everybody for joining us and for participating in this webinar. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Rapid Circle. Thank you very much for preparing, and I hope that a lot of organizations are going to benefit from using Teams as a platform within their organization. Thank you very much.